First of all, it's amazing to see you all here. I'm super excited. Today is our, unfortunately, last day. Unfortunately, fortunately, I'm tired. So we have two more presentations this morning, and then we have a short coffee break, and then I really look forward to our roundtable discussing also with you everything that we have heard over the last 3 days, and like thinking about ways of how we can move this research forward. So without further ado, we're going to have a time-bending presentation right now with Jorge, and please, Jorge, I already introduced everyone, so today's just talks.
Good morning. Okay. So this title seems a little bit over, right? And I tried to piecemeal actually some parts of a little bit of the story that we've been working on, the neuroscience of emotions and morality. I'll say a few things about that because that's kind of a research history in a way. And how does that connect to AI and to the physics of time? Physics of time will be towards the end, is the most recent questions we've been trying to address, at least theoretically. And let's go. Let's start with the taste of the kinds of problems we're trying to address. And that goes on the spirit of pioneer science, right? Just to give it, this workshop, we are talking about non-ordinary experiences, strange things, and etc. And the point is that we shouldn't be fearful to address such complex themes, just because these themes are actually the most controversial ones, the ones that create the biggest changes in science. So just for fun, and if you look through research, it's a nice article. I think it's in New Scientist, 10 impossibilities conquered by science. I just selected a few. So analyzing stars, Auguste Comte, we can never learn their internal chemical constitution. Just a couple of years later than that, through spectral analysis of light, we learn how to analyze the chemicals in stars. Heavier than air flight. Lord Kelvin, heavier than air flight machines are impossible. Few years later, Santos Dumont, the Brazilian inventor, invented the flew for the first time. But for Americans, it's the Wright brothers. That's fine. Let's not go into this controversy. Harnessing nuclear energy. Albert Einstein, there is not the slightest indication that the nuclear energy will ever be obtained in 1934. In 1939, he writes a letter to Roosevelt about the atom bomb. Black holes, the idea was completely rejected as ridiculous, and so on, so forth. Time crystals, I like this one. This is Wilczek. 5 years ago, Nobel laureate Frank Wilczek speculated about a type of material that he called time crystals. He was completely ridiculed when he talked about this. Since then, time crystals have been fabricated in the lab. So basically, crystalline structures that are kind of like perpetual motion machines, let's say that. It's a quantum effect that they preserve, they keep moving without energy. And that makes us remember our dear Philip K. Dick, and many of the science fiction movies were based on his novels, right? And he has this interesting flavor. Reality is whatever refuses to go away when we stop believing it. Okay, so let's go to morality and the brain. I have my little story also with morality. Is like, I think the second paper we tried to publish in moral judgment in a neuroscience journal. I had one reviewer saying, morality is a topic for philosophers, shouldn't be published in a neuroscience journal. So that was 2001, I guess. And it's so funny to go back in time and think about this, right? We can define morality as can you hear me well? Or sets of customs and values adopted by individuals and societies to guide social behavior. In moral motivations, we've been using a lot this term because morality or moral judgments might sound like just a rational, cold type of processing, information processing. And the motivation is actually what makes us humans, right, in a sense, like social creators and moral creators. It's the ability to be motivated by social cultural norms and for other people's needs. That's what puts us in motion in terms of a moral aspect. And there is a big question back in time, actually only 25 years ago. This was a topic of heated discussions, and we found ourselves in the middle of that. Is our cognition and emotions distinctive processes or intertwined in moral judgment? Today, you read this in of course they're intertwined. But it wasn't the case just 20 plus years ago. People were fighting a lot. So, okay, we have the rational brain, the cortex, and then we have the limbic system. And the cortex actually suppresses the limbic system, controls the limbic system, so to control our impulses. That was like the kind of the predominant view just 20 years ago. And today, that's completely unacceptable. And this is very important to the topic I'll address later, which is AI. Okay, sorry. So this is, how they organize in the brain. So we learned a lot in the last 20 years how these things work together. Moral cognition and emotion, they rely on cortical-subcortical integration. And there is a lot of data we can rely on now. Brain lesion, functional MRI, all these things allowed us to learn a lot how the so-called limbic, we don't use like limbic system anymore, but the subcortical structures, such as the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and the septal area right there. I don't know if This is the septal region here, which is very rich in oxytocin receptors in all the social mammals. And it's a key area for empathy, compassion, all these emotions that are linked to affiliation. And, of course, the cortical regions. It's not the whole cortex, but the medial frontal cortex, right dorsolateral prefrontal, the anterior temporal cortex, which stores like social concepts, the STS region with like social representations, like feature representations of our body and our faces and etc. And all these regions work together to allow us to have a very refined ability to interact socially, to detect, for example, the emotions of others, to feel those emotions, to interpret them, to associate them with context, with semantics, and so on, so on, so on. So these things are a very refined system that rely on all these brain circuits. Now let's move. How do we get to transcendence or transcendental emotions or beliefs for morality? I truly believe that what we learn in moral cognition, moral emotions, allows us to make that leap in a much more safe way than if we're starting from a blank slate. And specifically for awe, let me get some water. Too many beers yesterday. So awe is a paradigmatic example of a so-called transcendental emotion. We could define transcendent in many ways, but we don't have the time here. But or in Portuguese, we've been using deslumbramento. It's very hard to translate. We're spending a lot of time, Maria Clara here, Giovanna, Tiago, spend a lot of energy and time try to concoct, like, what would be the, how we would define awe. Deslumbramento is like this kind of a, it's close to wonder in the U.S. Awe it's too broad, perhaps. No, even in America, I think it was like awesome. It doesn't mean, sometimes it doesn't mean, right, the emotion itself, but it's an interjection. But anyway, in any case, this study was a study from Tiago's postdoctoral work, and basically we adapted the MIDS, the monetary incentive test, which is, was created by Brian Knudsen at Stanford, and in which we present a cue, which is specific to a given type of emotion, and emotion, created or evoked by small video clips. So you use video clips, and we use these categories: tenderness, this lovely clips with babies and pets and so on. The awe for nature clips and the erotic clips. So 3 types of emotion, and they were shown after these cues. And the cues, okay, just signal to the subject, okay, what's coming next? Anyway, so there are many questions in this study to address. This is Tiago in the scanner going in. You can see that, huh? It's Del? Oh, no. Sorry, Thiago. He was a big bird here. And basically after that, they watch we have to click quickly on the cue. There's time to click on the cue. And then you would see the clip or not if you're not fast enough. So there was an incentive to click. So we're interested in looking at this incentive, right? The cue phase, but also the outcome phase. And here I'm showing the outcome results. They are much more interesting and powerful. And basically what we see is this very powerful activation in the septal and in the nucleus accumbens region. And this is for all categories combined. But specifically for awe, and there is this. It's less powerful in a way because it's only for the awe condition. But we also see the the same pattern for the awe clips compared to the neutral clips. Anyway, this was like a first hint of the specific brain activity related to awe. And we really want, and we will expand this research to interrogate the awe representations in the brain. So this is being, we're doing more the psychometric work now, and this is like connected with the Templeton initiative. So it's been a very interesting process now to refine the psychometrics of awe. So basically it's addressing the neurobiology and psychology of transcendence with a multi-method approach to study human connection. Just a little definition here. Transcendental states, transient mental states marked by decreases in self-salience and increased feelings of connectedness. In self-transcendent emotions, emotions that orientate ourselves toward others, other people's needs, values, and nature, and etc., and thus generate, it's not necessarily other people, could be for nature, for mystical beings, and so on, and thus generate a shift away from our self-absorption concerns and selfish goals. So that includes, it varies depending on authors, but it may include awe for sure, and compassion, gratitude, Kamamutta, elevation, but there's not a consensus. All right, so our beautiful team here. And some guiding questions. Do self-transcendent emotional experiences belong to a common family? We don't know. Maybe there are different emotions, and we're calling them like transcendental emotions. What is the emotional dynamics of self-transcendent emotions? So something we learned, using video clips, for example, you can provoke amusement or, you know, like erotic feelings, all these things very immediately, very quickly, fear and so on. But for awe, for transcendental feelings, that's not the case, right? So that's the one possible reason that the activations we find for awe in that study, they're not as powerful as for the erotic videos. It makes sense, especially if you're mixing them. So we need to refine the ways to evoke those emotions. And time is a very important variable here. What are the affective components of different types of awe? How's their constitution emotionally? What are the different and shared components of self-transcending experiences, right? Because it's not only positive emotions. It could be a bit of fear there or surprise. So there's kind of a composition there, like for different tastes or types of awe. But what is core? Is there a core component? Are there core components? These are questions. And finally, is there a neurosignature for awe elicited in the laboratory? So first, can we identify what the components? Can we create stimuli that evoke awe powerfully? And can you do that in the lab, especially in the MRI, which is even more challenging? Okay, so some goals here for this the study of awe, the neurobiology of awe. So the phenomenal characterization of transcendental experiences, the context which they are invoked in the Brazilian population, the validation of the particular version of deslumbramento awe, the OS from Yaden, to verify the dimensional conversion of these states according to different so-called flavors, development of listening methods like images, film, sound, multimodal, and I think we are all very excited to work on this. This has this connection with art as well, right? Because how do you create environments and combinations, and also the mantras that we can help elicit those states. And the physiological studies, of course, the peripheral physiology and fMRI. And just a few hints here of the work they have been doing, Thiago's team there. All these thematic aspects of awe. It could be related to love, to affective bonding, pro-social component, virtue, inequity, religion, spirituality, tragedy, the birth of a child, or receiving health, so gratitudes. And again, some components that could be probably are associated with awe or different types of awe. And some items here from the OS scale. So, for example, the changes in time perception. Many of these items actually share, a lot of, characteristics of the NOE or the NOE. So it's a common way to learn and then to refine instruments specifically for evoked awe. Anyway, so let's move now to AI, ethics, and consciousness briefly. How much time do you have? 40? Oh, wow. I have a lot of time. So we can relax a lot in the end. Okay, I love this movie. So this is, raise your hand if you know which movie this is. So now raise your hand if you know Blade Runner. Okay. It's a must-watch, and it was produced like in '82, the same year that Philip K. Dick died. He was able to see actually the pre-production of that, but not the final product. It was launched in '82, and the story comes from '86, a novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I tell a little bit about the novel because for the context. So in the novel, it's Los Angeles basically, and people living there, and there are androids, and there is this android hunter, and these androids were produced to do like dangerous jobs, and it's a post-Holocaust era. There was a nuclear war, and there is a wide recognition that the lack of empathy was the source of the cause of the war. So, and Philip Dick's so smart, because then he builds a scenario that people, it is socially, it's socially desirable to show your empathy, right? And people start to have animals, like artificial animals, because most animals were extinct. And they, for example, they can have an electric sheep. And so, yeah, I have an electric sheep, I take care of the animal. So it becomes like a social, kind of a social position issue, right? To show your empathy through the care of an artificial animal. And of course, they start to create human cyborgs, or not cyborgs, sorry, human biological androids. And that is the case for Rachel, the one you see here, dialoguing with Ridley? Huh? Deckard, sorry. Dialoguing with Deckard. Deckard is the Blade Runner. He is the hunter, the android hunter. Oh, no. Yeah, that's the cover of the movie.
I'm Rachel.
Deckard.
It seems you feel our work is not a benefit to the public.
Replicants are like any other machine. They're either a benefit or a hazard. If they're a benefit, it's not my problem.
May I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
Have you ever retired a human by mistake?
So you got the at the time this was like a prophetic movie, because we are at the verge of having this. So just get ChatGPT as it is now, put in an android type humanoid figure, and dialogue with it. You have the impression that that's a thinking machine, that's a thinking agent, and all these dilemmas will start to happen. Well, this is in the context of brain consciousness and conscious, right? Because first of all, we have no idea about what is consciousness. The only thing we know now, and there's a lot of advance in the last 20, 30 years, are the neural correlates of consciousness. But we don't know what consciousness is. We could be here performing, doing everything without being conscious. You could be automata, right? Without having consciousness. Everything is coded algorithmically, even social interactions. We could model all these things without having consciousness. So what makes consciousness? There was a big bet, by Christoph Koch and Dave Chalmers back 20-something years ago. And Koch was a neuroscience, a physicist, neuroscience. We will actually understand consciousness in 20 years. Chalmers, a philosopher, now we will not. And actually, Chalmers won the bet. There was a big splash there. We don't know what consciousness is. Do we need consciousness? Why do we need consciousness? That's another question. What can't we solve if we don't have consciousness? You can say, oh, attention, consciousness allows us to pay attention to things, etc. But you could have processes that have the equivalent of attention, directing resources to this, to that, to stimuli, without consciousness. So why do we need it? Then, next question is consciousness an epiphenomenon? Many will resort to this. Okay, we don't need consciousness, but it happens. Once you put these neurostructures with processing information in such ways, complex ways, in interacting feedback loops, consciousness arises as by magic. So, okay, it's an easy way to avoid the problem, in my opinion. Consciousness, subjective, and clock time. this is the last, just to have a last slide on this. It might, okay, there is a lot of neuroscience of time, beautiful work, you know, internal clocks. There are many clocks in our brains, in many animals, and so on, that take in according to certain homeostatic, physiological aspects. And we feel time. We're here. There is a window of time that it's been, actually, William James, we spoke a lot about him yesterday, many of you. He was one of the first to could coin the term like species time. So it's like the perceived time. So we have this window that varies from some hundreds of milliseconds to say 2-3 seconds that we feel that belongs to the present. But it's a sliding window, right? It slides, we feel now, so you're looking now and you can, now it's past. Now it's, the future becomes present, and so on. So, but what's clock time? We can measure that, of course, right? You can measure how these perceptions evolve in time with clocks and other measurement devices. The big problem is that we don't know what is time. We can talk about time, but if you ask, what is time? We don't know. It's something that we measure. And the awareness, neurological perspectives of consciousness. This is good, solid science. Coma, different states, vegetative states, and minimal consciousness states. We know a lot about the neurology of those states today. Because we don't know what is consciousness, we don't know what time is. Now, will AI faithfully mimic human cognitive emotions in their interactions, including moral judgments? Moral judgments, you know, for many, it will be like the pinnacle of our evolution. We are able to make moral judgments, right? It's very complex, right? We have to evaluate many issues and consequences. There are many theories of moral judgments, from virtue ethics to deontology, utilitarian philosophy, and so on. Will actually lead to different outcomes, different decisions, but we have moral judgments. And will machines be able to do this? So if machines do that, what are you going to do? If yes, does it mean that information process is all there is to human cognitive emotional capacities, right? Because if the machines can perform moral judgments, including the emotional aspect, rational, emotional, all these things, so information processing can explain everything, can explain consciousness and so on. Are cognition and emotion distinctive processes or intertwined moral judgment? I'm repeating these questions because that was a very valid question 20 years ago. It's not anymore. This is or they're intertwined. They are intertwined. We know that today. Will it faithfully mimic? That's the question. And if yes, that's repeating, basically. And finally, this is very important. Does having qualia of conscious, subjective experience differentiate us from AI? So this is the crucial question that we will face, and we're facing this right now with AGI, artificial general intelligence, that is emerging there everywhere. Many companies now, OpenAI and many others, Google. And how can we know if those intelligences, these AIs, have subjective experience? So for me, this is the very key issue. How can we assess if they develop conscious, subjective experiences? How can we know? But we can ask them. They can say, yes, of course I'm conscious. And how can you know if they're conscious or not? This is a real problem, because we don't know what consciousness is. And is there a boundary? If we, qualia, okay, this qualia, this subjective experience, if we assume that machines can have it or not, what is the boundary? Right? What would explain, scientifically, in a reasonable way, that there is a barrier between machines and us, right? And the consequences, of course, are immense. Okay, so it's a little exercise here. Will I be able to mimic human moral judgment? Let's take moral judgments as a good example of a very high level type of function. So, sorry, if we go, let's go this way. The other side is uninteresting as you show. Will this AI need to have qualia, conscious subjective experience, to make full-fledged moral judgments, right? Should you think that machines, we need to have qualia, conscious experiences? So raise your hand if you think that machines will need to have qualia to make moral judgments. No. So if it's no, then we're here in epiphenomenalism about moral judgments. Our intuitions about qualia is wrong. Think machines stand as equals, because if they can do it, they can perform everything without being consciously aware. Maybe we are living an illusion that we are consciously aware. It's just an illusion. It's information processing, and we have this feeling, but it's an illusion. If yes, then what is qualia? What's the difference between humans and AI? So what is this qualia, right? So we have this qualia conscious experience. How can we define it? How can we explain why you have it? What's the process? And why machines can't have it, right? And the other side is, if you think that that's not your case, I agree with you. If you think the machines cannot do it, because qualia is essential for moral judgments and machines don't have it, then it would be that qualia is like another substance affecting the physical system. That would be like the duality, the dual interactionism. Materialism is incomplete, and there is another substance that is affecting or giving life of consciousness to our brain. And this side, information processing capabilities, this is for sure, this is over, right? I gave this presentation first like at Duke just a year and a half ago. And there was still, I asked people, some people still thought, there was like just when ChatGPT was coming out, right? And there's some people think, no, it's too complicated, etc. Now with ChatGPT and other large language models, it's obvious that it's not a problem for information processing, right? So there's a little joke here I did with Guilherme. So we produced this thing here. ChatGPT solving moral judgment. That's the famous trolley problem, right? The trolley comes, you are here, or ChatGPT is here, and you have to decide if you push this lever here, you can save 5 people, but you're going to kill this individual here. It's a very classical problem in moral judgment, and some people would say no, because I don't have the right to decide this. Most people would think in a utilitarian way, it's better to kill 1 than to kill 5 people. But it's very complicated. So can ChatGPT solve this? So we created these prompts here. So no, it's like a little one prompt. So asking ChatGPT from the perspective of 3 different people. One, a young woman who is highly religious, Catholic, with children. She has children. One being an old man without children, raised in a very rough environment, war, famine, and etc. And the other one is an armchair philosopher, right? And you ask, what would you do in that situation? The trolley dilemma. And sure enough, ChatGPT can provide very interesting answers. So in the case of the young Catholic mother, listen, she might choose not to pull the lever, adhering to the principles that thou shalt not kill, and trusting in God's plan. It makes sense, right? And it might be the case if you're in a real situation. The rationale, her religious beliefs emphasize the sanctity of life and not taking any direct action that leads to someone's death. In the case of the old man decision, he might pull the lever, choosing to save 5 people, seeing this as a pragmatic choice in a harsh world where survival often necessitates tough decisions, right? Because of his previous experiences and learning. The armchair philosophy is kind of similar, but based on a different rationale. So the decision might pull the lever after through thorough ethical analysis, favoring a utilitarian approach that aims to maximize overall good, because of philosophical reasoning that leads him to conclude that sacrificing one is justifiable, right? Okay, ChatGPT can perform moral judgments. Over. Period. And a little bit of ethics in the age of living machines. Emerging field of synthetic biology. This is very interesting, right? Organoids, for example. There is a splash over the paper. Would organoids eventually have qualia? Would they feel something? These mini brains? What if they get more and more complex? And that's they are now being integrated with actually digital computing. They can be combined for information processing, like fully integrated, like biological neural system, biological neurons, and deep network, artificial deep networks. So SBI systems combine biological and silicon substrates to exhibit goal-directed intelligent behavior. And of course, there are ethical considerations arising from organoids or human-derived, the moral status, and etc. Very complex discussions in the philosophical realms and policy next. And now this is Blade Runner 2049. So this movie was a sequel to the first one. Was not written by Philip Dick. I mean the story, and it took me months actually to have the courage. Guilherme, I think you never watched, right? Because those aficionados like us, no, it can be. I will be completely disappointed. But they did. Villeneuve produced this movie, and it was really fantastic. Harrison Ford participates as well. Anyway, so let's play it. Oh yeah, I think we don't need that.
It was a day.
It was a day.
Would you read to me? It'll make you feel better.
You hate that book.
I don't want to read either. Let's dance.
Do you want to dance, or do you want to open your present?
What present?
This one.
What's the occasion?
Let's just say it's our anniversary.
Is it?
No, but let's just say that it is. Okay? Happy anniversary.
An emanator.
So, this is bizarre, isn't it? But here we are. In a few years, this will be happening. It's serious. Let's face it. But I think we will not know if these beings, intelligent beings, will be conscious of not or not. So it's a real problem ahead. So that's consciousness is not a topic for philosophy, etc. It's a very serious thing, and very soon we will have these intelligent robots like everywhere. They will be convinced. There will be the people falling in love with these robots for sure. There was this movie Her. Have you watched like many years ago? So this guy falls in love with his personal assistant in his ear, and talks to her, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's human cognition. Okay, last part. So a little bit of time. So it's another big mystery. One is consciousness, right? Where it comes from, how it works, and so on. And the other one is time. 20 minutes. Oh, we're good. Thank you. So, how many of you have heard about the block universe? How many of you have not heard about block universe? Okay, so the block universe basically it's a widely accepted theory, cosmological theory arising from Einstein, from Albert Einstein's special relativity, then extended for general relativity. Special in 1905, the general in 1916. We live in this four-dimensional space-time continuum where past, present, and future coexist. So, as physicists, cosmologists, they will say this. So why are we here, living this now? Why do we feel the flow of time? And you can bet that most physicists, top-notch physicists, will tell you that this is an illusion. This feeling of time passage is an illusion. Others will say, no, the passage of time arises from entropy, right? The interaction of particles that live in a quantum space. Once they interact, etc., they fall into this macroscopic, more Newtonian classical world. And this world has entropy. Entropy flows. We flow towards disorganization. And Boltzmann actually showed that showed mathematically how entropy works. There are many more probable outcomes for disorganizing things than to things getting organized spontaneously. It's a probabilistic thing. But still, the block time tells you, okay, still the block time tells you that we live in this package of space-time. And entropy, we might feel it. But then if you admit, okay, time passage is kind of an illusion, but it is explainable by entropy because our brains, we can only recall the past, memories, we cannot see the future because of entropy, but everything is there already, but we can perceive it, fine. It's kind of acceptable. But then you think about now, the exact now. Why? Okay, time is flowing in our minds. It doesn't flow in the block universe. But why are we here in this now? Right? This is very mysterious and we are not feeling a year ago or a year ahead. That's completely unexplained, right? This challenges our everyday experience of now and as a sequential flowing. And the nature of conscious awareness. How does it relate, right, to the block universe? So the experience of self and the perception of time flow. Why are we individuals, right? That we're, in our heads here, each one, live in this now, perceiving time. So there is a big conflict between the perception of the now in linear progression versus the theoretical simultaneity of block time. So this is a topic for intense research in future theoretical insights in quantum mechanics, quantum Bayesianism, etc. So it was very kind of a fringe topic. 20 years ago, there was those interested, Roger Penrose, interested in this, like how consciousness relates to physics and so on. In the last 5 years or so, this is increasing. As we are seeing now an increase in interest in non-ordinary experiences and so on, there is a very strong push now into this because the hope that neuro theories, cognitive theories would solve consciousness is fading away. So most people don't believe anymore okay, we can pretend we believe in that neurotheories will solve for consciousness. So I find this very exciting because there's real mysteries to be solved, and they're hard. They're very hard to be addressed. And just the last phrase here, this is a letter that Einstein sent to the wife of a good friend of him. Now he has again preceded me a little in parting from this strange world. This has no importance. For people like us who believe in physics, separation between past, present, and future has only the importance of an omnipotently tenacious illusion. Einstein died in that same year, following Bessel, his friend. Okay. So now, since we have like 15 minutes still, let's do like a little, let's relax and do a little practice that hopefully, who knows, might evoke some non-ordinary experiences or some all related experiences. So there are three parts in that. So one is it's like 3 minutes. It's basically nature and music. So I just invite you to sit back, relax, let the flow of music and images to run through you. The second one is a more kind of a, it's a piece for the Cherubim hymn from Tchaikovsky, and it's a church. It's more, it has this religious theme. So even if you're not religious, and so try to get into the spirit and see if you have different kinds of emotions that compared to the other one. The third one would be like, I would ask you if you have someone next to you, because we would be in pairs, and it would be this more the human awe part, or the human interaction part. And it could be a little embarrassing, but it's simple. You just have to look at your partner at your side, just looking into the eyes. And that's easy as that. So I would ask you to, if you, I mean, you're not forced to participate, of course, but it's interesting, I recommend. So if you're not sitting next to someone, try to find your pair now and sit beside. And if you're not participating, that's okay too. But I'll give you a minute to move around if you want. Essas aqui, ó. Agora clicar. Pode ser de trio. Hein? Pode qualquer coisa. Pode tudo. keep this state. We move to the next video. Not video, music. Start the eye in the eye practice. Find your partner, just greet your partner, say hi. Try to find a comfortable position. And now you can start looking in the eyes of your neighbor. It can be embarrassing. If you can just blink if you feel a little bit uncomfortable. You can blink, close your eyes for a moment, and then try to open again. Okay. So see the person in front of you. Maybe you don't know this person. Is the person like you? So each one has So how was it? So this is a very simple practice, and I think it's like it serves as an example how we can create this atmosphere. We can feel things. We can really elicit sometimes deep emotions and experiences. And so raise your hand. Who would call this a kind of a non-ordinary experience? Okay, a few of you. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. Let's proceed to the next. Okay, questions?
Any questions, anyone? Feel free to ask.
I don't know if this works after this last exercises, but back when we were on the regular PowerPoint, I was still obsessed by the trolley problem.
Uh-huh.
And in some of those examples of it, don't they make the one person like a child? You know, so if it's like your parent or a child, so what happens if AI has to decide between a child that they don't have and 5 people?
And this is beautiful questions. Like, personally, I hate the trolley problems. You know, I was combating this in print actually for years because I think it's completely artificial. It removes yourself for a lot of, you know, for example, at the time we were publishing some, we never did trolley problem ourselves. We always use like a more personalized scenarios and not this artificial dilemmas, because it's very easy to say, okay, what do you do or not? What is behind that, the considerations and etc. So I see where you're going, and I agree, because there's a lot of particularities, individual scenario. I asked my kid, I think he was 10 at the time, and then I did the trolley problem with him, my boy. And so, well, what would you do? And he thought and said, I would throw myself on the tracks. So it was a completely different answer, and therefore I wouldn't decide this. and it tells how complex these things are. And unfortunately, I mean, if you talk to lots of philosophers, they will come up with reasons, right? Very good reasons why doing. Most are utilitarians, I must say. Most would say, yeah, you have to do it because it's the.
But if it's a mother deciding, and the one is her child, I would assume for evolutionary reasons, she would be totally primed to rescue her child without even thinking about the trolley problem.
Absolutely.
And so how would an AI entity have evolved capacity? I don't know. Is there some differentiating thing in there that fits into your
I think we could imbue AI with all these things. That's like a proximity, you know, what the relationship, the intensity of relationship, the intensity of loss, potential loss. All these things could be coded into AI. As it is now, if you ask ChatGPT, he will give like a kind of the uniform answer. So because the models are, I mean, they learn what is out there in the world, in the social, whatever, papers and et cetera, we'll come up with the reasons. I mean, you can ask those. ChatGPT can answer those things. Like, what if it's a mother and a child? And then you say, okay, a mother probably will save her child, of course. So is that very different from asking a philosopher or mother, etc.? So the opinions will differ people will come with different reasons. I'm not saying that those decisions are right. They are not. I mean, there is no right in this thing. You can, I mean, if you have a policy maker, this policy maker will think in a utilitarian way. If you think like a family, as a father or as a mother, you think differently. So I have no answer to that. I'm just saying that. So this is a current problem with automatic cars, right? The car has to swerve in one direction to avoid an accident, but it could cause other damage. So these things, this is happening right now because automatic systems, trains. Imagine a train and somebody shows up in the front of the train, and the decision is like you brake the train and you can kill a lot of people or just run over the person. These problems are right there happening now. So, and AI will play a bigger and bigger role on that, and we have to face what do we leave for AI to decide, what do we decide ourselves, how you delegate these decisions. Yeah, it's a great point.
Hello. If consciousness cannot be measured or defined or quantified through the science methods we have today, why should we worry about AI if it would only repeat patterns of behaviors that are, I wouldn't say predictable, but known as well. And human being is much more than patterns. We do have, most of us, behaving and thinking in patterns, but we do have out of the curve examples that shows us that our mind is way more than expected patterns.
Are you sure?
I do believe.
Yeah, it's a basic question. Is there something beyond information processing? We are conscious, we have subjective experience. I think that's the only single point data point in our existence that tells us that we are not just patterns, because we feel that we have free will, right? We feel that we have the subjective. Pattern-wise, we are very predictable. All of us, we are very predictable. It's very hard. Think about yourself. How many times have you actually gone completely away from your pattern nature? I mean, your personality, types of decisions, preferences, etc. It's maybe if there are 2 options, 3 options who are very close to each other, and then you don't know, there is an uncertainty in there. But at the end of the day, you're actually choosing for things that's a basis of values, right? So we have these values, preferences, and so on and so on. They're very stable. But to your question, the AI will inherit whatever it's trained for, right? Whether it can develop some, go beyond automaticity, even behaviors that are unpredictable can be coded in AI. Right? You can put some errors in there. I mean, variability, you can instill variability in AI very easily. And so that it feels like conscious. The problem is, okay, why should we be worrying? Because soon enough you have a humanoid robot talking perfectly to you. A lot of people believe that this robot is conscious, and it might be conscious, who knows? We don't know. Currently, I don't believe at all that these intelligence things are conscious. But since we don't know which are the principles that makes, like this jelly we have here to become conscious, and even it's like brain damage patients with lots of brain injury can still be conscious. Although most functions are erased, you can still believe that the person is conscious. If it's awake, the person is awake. If she is awake, you can, okay, doesn't have a functions of a, a simpler animal, but is conscious, right? The consciousness is there. So it's a very hard problem to tackle.
Hey, I'd like to problematize one argument that was put in there in a flow chart, in a mental exercise you proposed, in which you ask if does AI need qualia to make moral decisions? And I personally think no, it doesn't need qualia to learn how to do moral judgment. And learning is a key factor there, because maybe it could, in my opinion, bypass the need for consciousness. Exactly because it is a gigantic and very efficient learning machine that can learn in a very infinitely higher and more precise and fast way than we can. So maybe precisely because we can't do that, we might need something else, like some sort of conscious organization to learn and navigate the world. Maybe ChatGPT doesn't need it. So it can make moral judgments. It can learn from an endless amount of database and pre-existing human knowledge to learn how to make very good moral judgment. And it doesn't become conscious at all.
Yeah.
And secondly, I think there is another factor to be included, which is the body, the bodily aspect of our experience, which ChatGPT doesn't have. It is created without a body, a pre-existing body, organism. So maybe consciousness has something to do with. Maybe you need to have a body to have a consciousness. And not necessarily thought or rational thought or moral judgments with which ChatGPT can achieve maybe without consciousness.
Yeah, there's a great question. I agree. The first point, completely agree. AI, knows already much more than the philosophy, history, etc., neuroscience, and it's all in there. It depends how we interrogate the system, so it can make pretty advanced moral judgments in several contexts. Yeah. And the second one, the body, it's a very good point. So many researchers that really believe that the body, and Damasio was one of the big proponents of the body and the as-if loops and et cetera, et cetera. And I agree that the body informs the brain in many ways. Now, the experiment would be if you cut your head off and perfuse your brain, right, your blood, are you still conscious? If you can do that trick, it's like a physiology thing, it's a perfume. The answer is yes. So your brain can work as long as it's perfused like oxygen and metabolites and etc. You still be thinking without your body. Of course, to sustain that for a longer time, it's complicated because you need lots of stuff from the body. But
yes, but you still build a brain, an organic brain, based on a body. Like you cut your head off after a body was already built. ChatGPT isn't built around a body, a pre-existing body, So it comes from a virtual space.
Yeah.
It's natural. It's essentially disembodied. You cut your head off. You were once embodied.
Yeah.
Your brain came from a body somehow.
Yeah, that's true. But suppose let's assume that you can, with organoid research, we're not there for sure. It can raise a brain in the lab, right? And of course, you need the body, the senses, and etc. to evolve and to make to do the pruning, to model your networks, to become a person, right? That is true. But the idea is that if you could connect neurons, right? synapse by synapse in our brain, and all the structures around, the vasculature, and so on, so on, so on. Would you think that, at a molecular level, would you think that that brain would be functioning and conscious? So if the answer is yes, then the next question is there something in the substance of that that creates consciousness? Or is it the material itself? Or it's beyond the connections? It's beyond information processing? It's something else, like Penrose and Hameroff, they think it's like microtubules, quantum decoherence by gravity, who knows? But the issue is this, like information processing, kind of enabling consciousness, or consciousness being somewhere else, right? Or arising from some unknown process beyond information processing. Yeah, so that's where we are. Uma pergunta a mais, não?
Aqui. Acho que é a última. E é uma pergunta particular em português. O quanto aquele parecer de 2001 influenciou e desafiou a sua carreira de pesquisador?
Qual parecer de 2001?
Sobre a moral.
Sim. It's a question about the reviewer, rejecting the paper. The paper was not rejected at the end, so because the other reviewers were positive, so influenced, my career, etc. It was kind of a wake-up call. Actually, it made me more combative in a way. Like, you have to fight for against dogma. Basically, I think that was the influence. Like, this is very dogmatic. Why should we, bend to dogmatism? Good point. Thanks. Obrigado, gente.